one item, and I actually framed it with Titanic wood decking. Can you see the wood decking around it?
Oh, yes,
Wow.
I can.
That's
Yes.
actually real wood decking from the movie, of course, and so it's all framed up, and it's just I don't think I'll ever sell that. Somebody offered me $10,000 for it like 10 years ago. I said no, and I didn't take it, and I won't. And I just that's one thing that I just cannot sell. It's just never replace it. I can replace the cups and things and a lot of the portholes and stuff, but
Titanic Talk with Nelson Aspen and Alexandra Boyd. Here we feature stories from the independent documentary Ship of Dreams Titanic Movie Diaries and everything else to do with the iconic ship. From James Cameron's epic groundbreaking movie to the history and legacy of Titanic herself. Actors, historians, authors, descendants and fans come here to talk about Titanic. This is your first-class ticket to everything aboard the Ship of Dreams.
My name is Nelson Aspen, and you're back for another episode of Titanic Talk. Now, as you probably know by now, if you've listened to other episodes, this entire podcast was created as a companion piece to Alexandra's beautiful documentary, Ship of Dreams, Titanic Movie Diaries. And I don't think we could have a more perfect guest to talk about the Titanic movie than our guest today. Alexandra, please introduce our guest and tell us how you found him.
Well, I just love our community, and I love Titanic, and I kind of love the internet today because David Condon is a chap who we will get to talk to today, who I found because I think everybody knows that if there was one piece of Titanic memorabilia or propage that I would like, it's the little White Star Line weighted menu holder. And I was in some sort of rabbit hole the other day, and up popped eBay and all these Titanic props. And I was like, who's got all these Titanic? 25, 26 years later, somebody's still got all these Titanic props. And I discovered it was Dave. He doesn't have one of my menu holders, but he's going to look out for one of me.
Not yet.
and we started chatting, as you do, and he started sharing not just his images of pieces he's collected and let's say sold over the years. He's a broker for people like Zach Douglas, who people know very well because of Ship of Dreams, and other avid collectors, not just of Titanic memorabilia and props, but of sports memorabilia and all sorts of things. He's an absolute expert in his field, and I can't wait for him to tell us some of his stories and show us some of his images. Dave, welcome to Titanic Talk.
Yay!
hello guys, how are you? Hi Alexandra. Hi Nelson.
We're doing really well, and now we can see you. I am going to point out for those people just on audio that you have some amazing pieces behind you. I can see some model pieces. I can see some luggage. I can see a flopped crate with the signage flopped because of the day we got on the days we got on the ship. They had to turn everything to mirror. I see you've got the top of I think a caryatid from first class,
Yes,
one of the
yes.
column tops, and you've got Leonardo DiCaprio's door.
Yes,
We
you see
all
that.
have those blue.
Dave, where are you?
laminated-
Where are you coming from?
I'm in Orange County, California, Southern California.
All right. So, and is that where you warehouse all of this stuff?
Well, I used to live in Vegas, and I had a big warehouse in Vegas. Then we was there for 20 something years, and we moved back to California. My wife's a teacher, and as soon as my son turned 18, 19, and into college, and there and whatever, we would come back here. So we're here now. I've been here for about I grew up actually in Orange County, and I've been here now for 7 years now. I guess.
You look like a California boy. Oh,
No,
you look like you should be surfing or,
I wish.
doing a toothpaste commercial or something like that. As a mad collector of things, I'm just interested in your origin story as it pertains to Titanic, the film.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Story. So how I started, I've been actually when I was 19, I opened up the baseball card shop, and I collected baseball cards when I was little league, and so that's kind of how I started. And I opened up a card shop when I was 19, and started doing autographs and little sports memorabilia, mostly baseball cards. So I did that for 6-7 years, and in the memorabilia, the movie props kind of started. It's kind of all in one deal there, and it just kind of graduated and just kind of just escalated and here I am today. But how I started with Titanic, I wasn't I wasn't. I'm not going to sit here and say I was a huge fan of Titanic. I was interested in the real Titanic, right? A little bit, not crazy, and I had never even heard of the movie Titanic. So I'm at a Hollywood collector show, just looking for autographs, looking for cool stuff that I could buy and resell. And I'm a collector too, unfortunately, because that's not very good to do when you're trying to sell stuff too, right? So I'm at a Hollywood show, and I'm walking and seeing. I see a little go down around this corner here, and I look and I see this little sign, $2,500 sold, and it was a little faceplate, like a furniture dresser plate thing. I don't know. It was like just a little faceplate thing. $2,500 sold. I go, what is going on? What's this? So the guy says, well, this is supposed to be a great movie, Titanic, and this and that. And so, wow, where did you get this? And I'm all interested now, right? And he goes, well, so he told me that he bought it from a guy that was, I guess he was in construction on the Titanic. He worked on the set or whatever. And so he told me, I asked, well, where's the movie set? Where can I get some of this stuff, right? And he told me it was in Rosarito Beach, Mexico. And I said, wow, is there anything? Can I get some stuff? Can I, whatever? And he goes, well, I go, just tell me where the movie set is, and I'll go from there, right? So he showed me this picture. Can you guys see it? A little picture here. You recognize that, Alexandra? That's the movie set 30 years or 28 years ago, whatever. And he showed, not this actual page, but he showed me a picture of this little white. You see this little white thing right here? You remember that, Alexandra? Right in the front of the studios. Can you guys see it a little bit?
Alexandra will make sure all these pictures are on the YouTube version. So if you guys are just listening to the audio, check out this episode on YouTube as well.
So he told me go 25 miles past the border, and you're going to run right into it. I've been to Tijuana back in my high school days, and I had no idea where I'm going. Rosarito, all I heard is Rosarito. So anyway, I get in my car that freaking day, right? And I'm on a mission. I hit in my car. It's 2:00 in the morning, and I get in my truck. I start driving and get to the border, cross the border. I'm looking at my mileage. Okay, I had 25 miles. Start looking for this white statue thing. So I think I'm getting close, and I see it. I go, oh my God, is this it? Oh my God, I can't believe I found it. So I see this statue. I go on the side. I'm looking around. Is this the movie set? And I go on the side of the set, and I go down this dirt road. I see like a little pony wall, like a little 2-foot wall thing. Thinking, man, I think this is the set. Should I go like step over this thing and look? And so I get up there, it's pouring down rain. I probably at somewhere where I'm not supposed to be, right? Climb over the wall, and here I am on the set, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Well, within 5 minutes, I'm looking around for anything I could find. Within 2 or 3 minutes, I hear this click, 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 click. And I go, oh my God, what is going on here? It was pitch black. And I look up, and I have about 10 federales around me with guns on my head. Said, you got, this is how I'm going to die. I mean, come on. I couldn't believe it. So I'm just.
Like a scene out of Breaking Bad, the Titanic version.
Oh, exactly. So anyways, they're talking for 10 minutes. They're going back and forth. What is this? I hear gringo and loco and this and that. And so I just said, I'm just gathering firewood for my family. I'm cold. I live right down the street. So I'm just whatever coming in my head, right? And they let me go. I go back over the wall, get in my truck. I'm like crying.
No.
I can't believe this is happening to me. I didn't find a thing. I'm thinking, should I just go back home or what? I pull on the side of the road. I gather my thoughts. I start driving a little bit, looking for a coffee place open. And now it's like, 3:00 in the morning, 4:00 in the morning. Nothing's open, of course. So I'm driving a little bit, and unbelievably, I see a little freaking sign on the side of the road that says, out of all this happened, Nelson, Titanic movie props for sale. After all that. So that's how my career in Titanic started. So I waited till about 7:00 in the morning, knocked on this guy's door. It was a trailer. And I'm just saying, Titanic props, I'm here. I'll buy anything you have. And didn't speak any English, but came outside and he said, I got this and that. Walked in his back. I'm seeing portholes. I'm seeing, mind you, I just saw a little dresser plate thing, little tiny plate that just sold for $2,500. Thinking, oh my God, I just hit the
You knew you'd hit
oh
gold.
yeah, oh yeah, this is it. And that's how I started. And one thing led to another. Met him. I met someone else. He led me to somebody. I'm going there every 2 to 3 days.
What year was this?
This was I want to say 97, maybe. It was like right when the movie came out. The movie came out in 97, right? So it had to have been like right in that time. I don't even think
the set, actually, the studio would not have been Titanic anymore. It would have gone on to whatever the next. They were probably still dismantling that huge reproduction of the ship that you saw there. And in fact, Judy and Ellen are two eminent extras who feature in Ship of Dreams and who've been on this podcast. They did a bit of dumpster diving themselves. They said because the dumpsters were just full of stuff that, like any movie set, it's been shot and we're done, move on to the next thing. They just literally throw it away. But some of those guys somehow, but they were also probably very useful building materials that they could repurpose. Talk a bit about some of the window frames and doors that you found actually built into people's houses.
The repurposing things are fascinating
amazing
to me.
I don't think a lot of the collectors even know about that, how this all came about. It's amazing. So I guess from what I heard, James Cameron hired this company to come to the set and remove the ship, right? 3/4 scale to the real Titanic. So I'm sure, Alexandra is well aware of this, but so a company came out, took the ship off, I guess, and dumped it illegally on somebody's property. Like it was, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 acres. And this guy was gone at the time. It was a vacant lot. It was probably 10 minutes outside of where the set was. And this guy comes back, drives up to his, and what's this? I've got all this wood and windows and pieces. He had no idea what it was.
What's this lifeboat doing in my yard?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, lifeboats. That would have been something else. But yeah, just a bunch of wood and scrap, and he didn't have no idea. Well, the next day he figured out what it was. He was a big dude. He was well known in as a real estate developer and all that. So he gets on the news, calls the local TV, and they did a little thing on him. And he said, anybody that wants to come get all this stuff off my property, come get it for free. Okay,
wow.
That's how all the locals got into the props, and that's how it's all divided up. So all the locals just went there with their trucks, whatever they had, piled them in, and then took them to their farms or wherever they could pack it. And I was about 2 to 3 weeks. I missed that boat. I missed that, no pun intended, but I missed that opportunity to get that. So everything.
But they weren't taking them, Dave. They weren't taking them to collect them. They were like, "This is really great timber that I can repurpose."
Alexandra, the movie hasn't come out yet, so nobody even knew. Nobody even knew it. They don't know. It was just a bunch of wood. This is
free material. Yeah,
free material, firewood, building their houses, whatever. So I missed out on that. So this guy that I found on the side of the road, whatever, that's what I'm saying. He started selling stuff to me, and this was going on for. I was going to Rosarito probably 2 to 3 times a week for 2 years. I was doing this 1.5 years.
That sounds like James Cameron. You even have the James Cameron director's chair, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure. I'm like pretty sure it was good. But it was something I did not get off the set myself. All my contacts now are from the set. They work there, 100% golden. But that was one thing that I am not positive about. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know.
It's also quite easy to just print up a director's chair back.
Yeah, but maybe he used different ones. Maybe he used a couple different ones at different scenes. I don't know. But yeah, I'm 95% sure it was real. So I sold that off, and the collector is as happy as can be. He did research on it. He thinks this is as good as gold. So yeah, it's a pretty cool piece.
Hey, Dave, I'm curious, as a merchant yourself, since you broker these deals, I know you have the eBay page. Where do you work from? How do people find you, and what are the most effective ways for you to sell? Do you go to auctions or shows, or is it all online? How does your business work?
It's all online now, Nelson. And over the years, I've met. I mean, just the most wonderful people in this business. And I mean, now I'm a I'm just a freak now. I'm more of a collector than a seller. I kind of just sell Titanic stuff just to support my habit, right, of collecting my bigger items and what, you know. And I've met just the greatest people you could imagine. I mean, 25 years of this. I mean, you guys know Zach, of course, and just a great guy. I mean, and he's been purchasing stuff from me, God, 15 years maybe. And he came out to my house and looked at my stuff in my office, and he saw my stuff, and he was just going crazy. Maybe Alexandra saw a video of that whole thing. He taped the whole thing, but pretty cool stuff. So back to your question, Nelson. I sell on eBay, but I don't. Most of my clients, they just know who I am, and they'll call me if they want something, or if I need some money or whatever, I'll call them and, hey, I got this for sale now. Go, you know. And
Alexandra's waiting for her menu holder.
I promised Alexandra, I'm going to get you a menu holder. I'm on a mission. I told you. I promise. I've seen them, and I think I've had a couple of them, sold them over the years. But
I saw an original one from the wreck, which I couldn't imagine owning. I'd be quite happy. I want the prop one, but the original one was like £600, which actually it sold for £600, which didn't seem very much for something that came from Titanic. Or maybe it was a White Star Line ocean liner. You know, I don't know if I didn't read it because I was too upset that I would want it. What's the rarest thing do you think that you've come across, either from your forays into Rosarito and into the villages of Mexico where they're reusing pieces of the set, or what's something that you just never thought you would come across?
Well, after a couple years, it's kind of the same stuff: decking, hull. Portholes were fantastic. That came maybe a couple months later, you know. So it's kind of always the same stuff, hull and just kind of the wood and just all those things. And so it was never anything really unique. I would say half the time I'd go there. I lived in Vegas at the time. It was a long drive, and I'd get there and guy wouldn't be there, wouldn't show up. So I struck out, got zero, right? But one time, probably a year into this thing, I get there. My guy pulls up in a truck, and he's got this unbelievable stained glass window. I was beside myself. Couldn't believe it. Just a beautiful 7 or 8 feet tall, totally intact stained glass window. It was out in the smoking room, and that was probably my best piece I ever got.
Did you sell it or did you keep it?
I kept it for a while. And you know, things are slow.
They all have a price. Yeah, everything has a price.
You remind me of like a gold miner, like the guys that, you know, back in the early days of our country that were, you know, going out west and digging for gold or mining for oil or whatever it is. I mean, some days are good. Just listening to you talk and describe the ups and downs, but you're an explorer.
Tell the story of finding the piece of paneling in the tire shop.
So I'm driving down, and I'm driving down the road, and I see the tire shop, right? And this is crazy. True story. I go in there because my tire is flat, like it's going flat. I see it on my screen. And so I go in the nearest tire shop, and I get in there, and this guy, his entire wall is Molly Brown's stateroom wall. It's got the furniture padding thing on there, the material on there. I'm saying, oh my God, this is.
I'll bet it shined up like a new penny.
I gotta get this.
Nice shoehorn, Nelson.
I don't care what it's gonna cost me. I'm gonna get this sucker. I get in there and I'm thinking, this guy, I mean, if I give him a couple $1,000, right, he's gonna go crazy. He's gonna take it, right? And I said, I explained to him, hey, this is history you've got here. This is any way you would sell this thing, right? He said, no, my whole building's going to come down. My roof is unstable. You know, and these guys don't speak real good English. So I'm trying to explain to him, listen, there's a Home Depot right down the road. I'll buy you all brand new wood. We'll redo it. I'll bring a couple guys and we'll fix it up. It'll be good as new. So anyways, no good. No deal.
He just doesn't want the bother of it. It's not the money. It's just...
And you know what? It really isn't to now. It's not. Now it's really not a money thing because I've developed so many cool, like just we'll go back to Zach, like recently, just a couple of weeks ago, actually, I'm in Mexico in my condo, And I'm always treasure hunting. I'm always looking at houses and seeing if I can find something new. And so I have a meeting with my guy. He said, Dave, I got a couple things and you might be interested, whatever. Of course, I'm not going to turn anything down Titanic. So he pulls up and he's got this material. It was oil stained and it was just ugly. I couldn't even see really what it was at first, but I get it. And I said, holy smoke, this is the first class dining room tablecloth. And I'm looking, I see the little designs on it and stuff, you know, and I get it. I'm holding this thing and he goes, he goes, how much you want for that? Whatever. And it was like almost like a throw-in to the deal, right? And immediately I thought of Zach. I said, Zach is going to die for this, right? And
he's got all the dishes. He needs a tablecloth.
I know. I knew he didn't have one either. And I've never even seen one in person. So anyway, thought of him and I go home. I didn't want to tell him about it first because I didn't know if I could even get it to someone you could even see what it is, right? So I'm getting the OxyClean and trying to stay. Anyway, after about 15 freaking washes, it came out wonderful. Call Zach, and we were FaceTime each other, and I thought he was gonna have a freaking heart attack. He couldn't believe it, and it was that right there. Just stories like that I have.
I can hear his voice right now, can't you, Alex?
No,
yes.
Go back
to the guy how you got the paneling, the Molly Brown paneling.
Back here. So I kept on going back to this guy, and I said, listen, I mean, so I would just show face and listen, I'm still interested. If you ever decide to do it, let me know. And here's my phone number. 5 years it took me. And finally, I get up there, and it was my day. He said, all right, Dave, it's time. Let's do it, right? And he said, come back tomorrow and you can pick it up. I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to believe this until I see it. So anyways, he cut the thing down for me. I didn't have to do a thing. He cut it down. He had his new wood, and I gave him some money for wood, and he had started construction already. The next morning, he had it all nicely laid out on the side there for me. And there it was. Got it. Now it's in Pittsburgh at a pretty cool museum, and the guy bought it for me over there. So that's that story. But I've got 100 of them, stories like that. But
then I saw a photograph of a door with a porthole in it that had all been repainted. What did you do with that? Did you do like at the, like the Sistine Chapel where they take Q-tips and wash the paint off?
Another story. The guy I'm driving down and I have a couple guys out there that actually are out there almost full time looking for stuff for me at all times. They call me if they see something. I mean, most of the time you'll see my stuff comes that are incorporated in these homes. They'll take a door and they'll put it and use it as a front door, like a promenade deck door, beautiful with the nice porthole with the, the ornate around the window and the portal and stuff. And it's sometimes it's painted like weird dolphins and stuff, and it's okay, right? That's cool. I was able to take it out and take the hinges off, and they have it all bolted in. And then we go to Home Depot, replace it with another door, and there you go.
Nice vinyl, lifetime guarantee, vinyl.
Yeah, exactly. So,
what does your wife think of all of this? How's her feng shui?
Here we are, 20-something years ago, and that's in front of Baja Studios in Rosarito. We're doing a Titanic tour thing, so. No, she's not a huge fan, to be honest with you.
What does she collect? Does she collect anything?
No, not really. No, I wish I could tell you a great story about that, but no, she's kind of over it. And they
either are or they aren't. My partner has not seen Titanic. I think he's the only person on the planet who hasn't seen it. And now he just won't, so that he can say he's never seen it.
Yeah.
He's seen the documentary, though.
He's seen the documentary more than
Alexandra, your documentary is wonderful. I've watched 3/4 of it today, actually, and it's amazing. It's so
well. I mean, not for my own ego, because thank you very much, but I'm always interested in people who are so connected to this film. Some of the feelings that are evoked when you hear those people who are really there, who are really part of that creative process. What kind of things come up for you when you see that, or when they talk about walking onto the sets that you now have pieces of?
I want to hear the stories. I mean, I see you, and and I see you in the documentary. Like you're I just can't believe that you saw. See, I'm a nut now. I'm a huge fan now. Like for the last 20 years, I'm a nut, and like Zach, and when I look at you and you're seeing all this unbelievable stuff. And I talk to people that have worked on the thing, and I go nuts over. Oh, by the way, here you go. Here, cheers.
Oh, it's a
Cheers.
teacup. Go off.
And you've seen that, like the real thing on the set, like working, Kate holding in drink, whatever. And it's like the stories just blow my mind because I go crazy over one little cup, right? Or a porthole or whatever. And you've seen it all. And it's just, I wish I could have worked on that set or just see everybody.
I will have to say, just listening to you break down each piece like that, I know I was super fascinated by the layout of the table, and the carpet and the woven chairs in the sort of cafeteria in the cafe area. And I've told this story a couple of times on the podcast. When I sat at the captain's table, the other side of Bernard Hill was Peter Lamont, who was the production designer, Oscar winning. He'd done James Bonds, he'd done a whole bunch of other James Cameron films. And of course, once he revealed himself to me, because he was dressed as the ship's captain, and Jim always put him in costume and made him do something at some point. Because essentially his work had been done at that point. He was supervising. But can you imagine the months and months and months of research and building? And it was all down to him. Actually, it was all down to him. And then years later, his son became an art director. And I was developing a film about the First World War, and they had just done Warhorse at Leaston Studios in England. And my producer met with Peter's son and showed him these beautiful 8x10 photographs of the trenches. So again, the same level of detail, the same attention, stuff that, that particular cup that you have wasn't necessarily fully in a shot or fully used, but it was there as a huge part, as a tiny part of the huge whole. So my impression of walking through that first class dining room and sitting down, looking at the table setting and looking at everybody dressed up as if it was 1912 on the last night of the Titanic, it felt so real that it was surreal.
Yeah,
That was and it all goes down to, it starts with James Cameron's vision, then he finds somebody like Peter Lamont to action it, and then they find people to build it, and then the costumes. Like, the actors are just facilitators of this incredibly creative endeavor, and that's the stuff that blows my mind, the enormity of it.
I can't believe the detail that he used. He could have saved pennies. They're there. I mean, just the mahogany hand railing, and he could have used regular, cheap wood or whatever. And it was like that when I'm finding these props. The detail and the materials that were used, it just blows me away.
Well, and that's why they last, quality materials. And when I sold my house in Los Angeles and moved to New York, I had to downsize significantly. And I was a collector. I was telling Alexandra about this, and I had to get rid of so much. And I kept saying to myself, never love something that can't love you back. And that made it easier to part with things. I didn't want to part with them, but I got good at it. What's an item or two that you just could never part with?
Okay, well, this right behind me, can you see it? Alexandra, can you see it?
What are you pointing?
Star line?
A lot of lovely things there.
Hanging, yeah.
Okay, so it's big. This was hanging in the gymnasium. You see it?
Oh,
I'm sorry, where was it hanging?
The poster
in the gymnasium.
Hanging in the gymnasium. There's only two. There was this one, and there was like a roll map type thing on. They were side by side. This is the only one that exists in the world. I've only seen this one. This is one item, and I actually framed it with Titanic wood decking. Can you see the wood decking around that?
Oh, yes, I can. Yes.
That's actually real wood decking from the movie, of course, and so it's all framed up, and it's just I don't think I'll ever sell that. Somebody offered me $10,000 for it like 10 years ago. I said, no, and I didn't take it, and I won't. And I just, that's one thing that I just cannot sell. It's just, there's only one. Never replace it. I can replace the cups and things and a lot of the portholes and stuff, but it's like that's my piece right there.
This might be a really awful question, and
no, go ahead. Hit me up.
We can cut it out if you don't want to answer it. What's the most expensive thing that you have found and sold? Maybe say what it is, and say, don't have to say the actual number.
Um, that stained glass window we got. Uh, I think it ended up selling for 24,000.
Yeah.
I didn't get that,
But
but
something, no, but yes, but that's what they end up being worth.
I sold it, and then they sold it. I heard they got like in the 20
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And we did talk briefly about that pink sinking coat that I feel very much my Titaniacs, my friends who really know about this stuff. You know, I think you have to be really steeped in it. And Zach and Ilka and Dale in particular are steeped in the costumes and the historical elements and the film's costumes. And there was quite a bit of back and forth about whether that coat that was being sold, it had a certificate, it had, you know, yes, this is screen used, or may not been screen used, but it was one of the coats that they would swap out. And from my side, it very much looked like it was a J. Peterman
Yeah.
reproduction, which were beautiful and very well done, but not a screen used coat. And really, ultimately, whatever that coat sold for is what it's worth, because it's always worth what somebody is prepared to pay for it.
As long as they know exactly what they're getting into. I mean, if it was sold as a used item, which that, you know, then you got ripped off, obviously, and the item's not going to go for nearly as much as a Peterman. Or Peterman's great, got great pieces. I've got the, you know, of course I've got the Hardy Ocean and a couple other pieces, but film, used prop, replicas, it's a whole different ball game.
But that's the
So now
minefield too, isn't it?
Yeah,
You have to
just
have
the
somebody like you
certification
who
process.
knows, or people who genuinely collect who know.
Exactly. That it comes down to that. Are people that you trust? I mean, I've gotten burned. I thought I was buying, you know, original from the real Titanic grand staircase pieces, you know, like a little tiny piece like this big, you know, $10,000, right? And I traded and did this, and I got enough things, and we did the trade, and I got it, and I was excited, and then I find out it's probably not even real. So and I'm not an expert on the real Titanic, but I am on movie props. I'll put my name behind something, and it's as good as gold.
Well, that's the age-old cliche of let the buyer beware. But we know that, you know, you're doing your due diligence. And tell us now, because we're going to have to wrap this up. But tell us, Dave, where we find you, and we'll put it up, of course, on the website as well. But just tell interested folks.
That's nice, Nelson. And I'll tell you, this is not why I'm doing this at all. I don't want to really.
You're a Titanic like us.
I know, but
doesn't matter that you're here. We know the reasons.
But everybody's going to want to get in touch with you.
I'm on eBay, and I have it. It's Titanic Dave, number 4,
Titanic
letter
Dave.
U. Yeah, Titanic
Fantastic.
Dave, number 4, letter U, and that's my eBay site. But you know, I don't put all my really great stuff on there. I'll put decent stuff on there, but most of my clients are from Canada and Australia and the UK and just Germany and just all over the world I've met. That's why I do this now. Really, I mean, I honest to God, I do, and it's stories like Zach and stories like I just sold a piece to a guy and he didn't have a whole lot of money, and it's like, you know, he scraped up and I held it for him. A wicker chair, by the way. I had a wicker chair and had 2 of them, and it was just, he got it. He calls me up. Oh my God, Dave. And I'm just looking at right now, just thinking that's why I do it. And it's just, honest to God, I know that sounds kind of hokey, but
it for the love. I mean, you know, what we're making on this podcast, you know, we're not just in it for the money, you know.
Well, and just going back to why we started the film, I had all those diaries, and it felt like they were just collecting dust in my computer. They've been transferred to every computer I'd ever upgraded to. And I still knew so many of us. And it just had this idea, would you sit down and read your diary? And then at the same time, it dovetailed into getting to know the Titaniacs on Instagram, mostly on Instagram. And it just seemed to make this beautiful balance of where we are 25 years later, completely in love with the film or with films or what films do to us. You know, now I'm a filmmaker. I don't even act anymore because I'm just so taken up with telling stories, and if they're true stories, you know, stories about real people, all the better for me. So as we completed the film, and Nelson and I were like, well, we can talk, let's Titanic talk. And here we are, we're in, like, you know, the 40th episode just talking about this ship. It's incredible.
I do want to just make sure that we say thank you, and we'll see you on eBay. And when we're all in the same city, we'll get together and do the real thing.
If you guys ever want to talk more, just give me a call. Alexandra, you want to come over, and Nelson?
Yeah,
we'll have a tea party.
Was there, wait though, just if you can do it in 2 minutes, was there one more thing you wanted to say, Dave?
This guy, one of my customers, painted this, drew this. Can you believe that?
Was it Dale? Is it Dale's?
No, a guy in the Midwest, but he drew this for me.
Incredible.
It's for those of you who can't see what we're seeing. That's the Kate Winslet sketch, a reproduction of the James Cameron sketch of Kate Winslet that DiCaprio's character sketch.
I just met so many cool people, and I this is why I do it now. And like I said, it's not a money thing for me anymore. I mean, of course, everything is for sale, right? But I'm in it 90% just because of reactions I get from Zach and these other guys. It just makes my job just great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is fun.
You don't get this in the Barbie community.
Not yet. Oh my God. Can you imagine people walking, dumpster diving for all that pink stuff? It's got to have gone somewhere.
One more thing I got to tell you real quick. So a guy bought something from me. I drive out there. I give him the stuff, and he's all excited. And he starts telling me that he's like one of the biggest real Titanic collectors in the world. So, oh, okay, well, really? And I've heard this before, right? And so anyways, I go in the back room. He's showing me stuff that blows my mind. He pulls out an original Titanic deck chair that sells for $500,000. We take it out of the crate, we bring it out on his living room floor. I'm sitting in it, and this and that. I love what I do, right? I mean, I wake up one morning delivering something, and here I am sitting on a real Titanic.
I'm a very rich person who can afford a deck chair for $500,000.
He had two of them, and he had a bunch. Wow. And now he rents out his stuff to museums all over the world and Titanic exhibits, and he doesn't sell. He collects. He rents his stuff out, but he's a big time collector, and it's just.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave a review. And if you'd like to hear more podcasts like this, hit the subscribe button. For information on where you can see Ship of Dreams, Titanic Movie Diaries, go to shipofdreamsfilm.com. Titanic Talk is a production of Ship of Dreams Film Limited. To celebrate Season 2 of Titanic Talk, we've launched a line of Titanic Talk merch. A cap, a mug, a tote, a t-shirt or a hoodie. You'll be sure to find a unique gift for the Titaniac in your life. Look for the link in the notes and on Instagram, or go to bit.ly/Titanic Talk Shop. And Nelson has a new book out. Dancing Between the Raindrops is a steamy page-turner full of all the tales Nelson can still remember from New York City in the 1980s. It's a coming-of-age story about friends in the era of big hair, padded shoulders, and punk rock. Dancing Between the Raindrops is available on Amazon, or ask for it at your local bookstore.